Brace yourself for one of the biggest wealth booms ever as early investors ride the health crisis that threatens mankind. This investment strategy is very simple and has been generating wealth for the ultra-rich for decades. Bravo Enterprises, ticker symbol OGNG, has been attracting great minds like NHL Hall of Famer Phil Esposito. Esposito has a history of joining successful business ventures just as they are about to take off, with his founding the Tampa Bay Lightning just the most high-profile example.
And when she said to me, I'm here to talk to some other people, she was going around Florida talking to some people about getting water from air. And I looked at her like, are you kidding me or what? Come on, how the hell does that happen, right? And when she explained it to me, my mind started racing because Florida has a tremendous water problem. There's no doubt about it.
We're quickly running out of water. It's not up for debate, it's just a fact. Take a look. The Beijing water table has dropped 300 meters since the 1970s, and the population has as much water as do the poor in Saudi Arabia. Water drawn from farming has tripled in the last 60 years, with the world population exploding from 2.5 billion to 6 billion. Half the world's wetlands have disappeared in the last 100 years, and 1/5 of freshwater fish species are endangered or extinct. Their habitat is drying up at an alarming rate. At current usage patterns, Mexico City will exhaust its underground aquifer in 2 generations or sooner. And that's just at current rates, when the population and usage is always going up. Industrial use is increasing to over 20% of total usage, and 60% of water use in the developed world. We could go on and on. We haven't even mentioned Africa, the Middle East, or India, where water problems are most acute. The point is, we're using more fresh water than we're replenishing, and the matter is only going to get worse. Losing our fresh melt and rainfall at the same time. Throughout recorded history, the lion's share of humanity's drinking water has come from ice and snowmelt. But that's all about to change. Glaciers around the world are disappearing at an alarming rate. Glacier National Park in Montana has gone from 200+ glaciers at founding to less than 30 today. Those 30 have averaged a 67% area loss, and all of them are expected to be long gone by 2050. Kilimanjaro has no snows left. The Himalayas are changing from white to gray. 95% of glaciers worldwide are in serious retreat or are entirely gone. Rising seas means salty wells. As we've put more strain on our water resources, we've used less surface water and more underground aquifers. But those aquifers are under enormous strain. Not only are we draining them, but they are threatened by a rising ocean. It's already starting. Florida's water is quickly turning salty. Normally, the heavier salt water sits underneath fresh water, but sea levels are rising so high, brackish water is polluting underground aquifers. It doesn't help that the suction used by wells helps bring the heavier salty water higher. It's not surprising then that we're already seeing conflicts centered around access to our dwindling freshwater resources. Today, it's impossible to find an expert who doesn't see clean water as an incredibly pressing issue. Half measures and half wins. Today, save one invention. There are a lot of solutions to one problem, but not another. Let's take a look at the best of them. Water treatment plants. What they are. Water treatment is just what it sounds like. Massive filtration systems that aim to clean our fresh water. Through use of filters and chemical additives, it makes unsafe water safe again. Pros. Water that might otherwise be deadly or contaminated is now somewhat fit for public consumption. Cons. A very expensive process. Substitutes one bad like effluent for another like chlorine. Water can become dirty in pipes again. Can't clean highly contaminated waters that have chemicals in them. Does nothing about water shortages. Home-based filters. What they are. Snapping onto taps or being used as water pitchers like Brita filters, these home-based solutions remove a number of contaminants. They're like a second line of defense against dirty water. Pros. Improves the taste of water. Removes particulates very effectively. Charcoal filters can counteract some chemicals. Cons. Doesn't remove all chemicals and often leaves behind cancer-causing agents. Doesn't block all biological agents. Used where it's least needed, on water that's already been treated. Very expensive where it's most needed, like sub-Saharan Africa. Does nothing to increase the supply of water. Bottled water. What it is. Water taken from pure sources and delivered to homes or offices that would like it. Pros. Very clean water. Cons. Expensive. Difficult to transport. Creates waste. Heedlessly uses energy. Nothing to increase fresh water supply. Desalination plants. What they are. Desalination plants basically take seawater, evaporate it multiple times, and eventually produce clean, fresh water. Pros. Removes almost all pollutants in the evaporation process. Adds to the fresh water supply. Cons. Produces water of poor quality, with 2% of salt remaining. Insanely expensive. An impractical solution for any area that doesn't border an ocean or sea. Anything else? These have been piecemeal answers to a problem that begs for a universal solution. Today, that universal solution has finally arrived.
Bravo Enterprises, symbol OGNG on the OTCQB, has received official recognition from the United States Federal Emergency Management Agency, better known as FEMA. Bravo, which does business as Splash Water for Life, can now bid on federal contracts and conduct business directly with the federal government of the United States.
A water innovation with unlimited profit potential. Today, there is only one solution that can fix every single one of our water issues in one clean sweep. That solution? Atmospheric water harvesting, or AWH. The concept is simple and extremely powerful. In fact, getting in now would be similar to jumping on Apple or Microsoft in the 70s. Better, actually. We can survive without consumer gadgets. Not so without water. But let me explain just what AWH does. In essence, it draws water out of the air. That's it. Moisture contained in the atmosphere is a practical water source. The atmosphere contains 3,500 cubic miles of water, or 0.001% of the Earth's total water reservoir volume of 350 million cubic miles. Even if all 6.7 billion people on Earth used water from water vapor processors at the rate of 13 US gallons per day, they would only consume 0.002% of the available atmospheric water. You can see why we're so excited about AWH systems. By grabbing clean water out of the atmosphere, AWH literally solves every water problem we have with a single machine. It takes 10 gallons of water to produce one slice of bread, 35 gallons to make a cup of coffee, 635 gallons to make one hamburger, 1,799 gallons to produce 1 pound of beef, 20 gallons to produce 1 egg, 500 gallons to produce 1 pound of chicken. As water constraints rise, so will the cost of food. With water constraints on the rise and the rise of food costs, there will be more territorial disputes. Remember, there is no substitute for water. What sort of return would you expect from a business that was about to save the world? Let's take a smaller example. Cancer. If you owned shares in the company that cured cancer, what would you expect? 1,000% profits in a year? More? Much more? It's hard to say how high such a company would go, but without doubt you'd probably be able to retire with a few hundred shares. But cancer only affects a small portion of people every year, while everyone in the world needs water every day. And more people in the world are currently without water than have cancer. Remember, almost 1 billion people lack access to clean water right now, and that number is scheduled to skyrocket for all the reasons we've discussed in this presentation. Access to clean water is a huge problem. Many think it is the greatest problem facing the world today. It might not have the sex appeal of a cancer story, but it's an even greater threat. And one company, just one, has the power to solve it. What sort of return would you expect from such a company? Would 1,000% be too modest? It might be. What if we told you that this company, even with its technology entirely developed, is still in its infancy? That at the moment, hardly anyone knows it exists. Indeed today, but likely not tomorrow, you can buy a part of this company for pennies on the dollar, because no one outside of specialist circles knows what AW technology is or what it is capable of. A future built on the present. Bravo Enterprises, real water solution for the next millennium.